And then if I get fortunate enough to find an LCS spot in spring, then I'll be back. And if not, then I think that would be the end of the road for me for LCS.
Yeah, could you give me maybe a little bit of a timeline from when the split ends? You do that like interview that you did that went up on the Dig website. Like, what did you do during that time? What sort of communications did you have with your GM, your new coach, and until the couple days ago when you found out that you weren't going to be on the team?
Yeah, so immediately after the season ends, usually it's just like a lot of self-reflection. They make you do like exit interviews, which is like pretty standard. You kind of talk about the season, your goals for the next split, what you're going to do in the off season, stuff like that. Um, so it was mostly that, and then obviously I had a lot of conversations with my head coach and like just coaching staff and my teammates, and that was most of that. And then I think I took like less than a week of break, and then just started playing solo queue again. That's just kind of how it is, and you kind of try to like grind a little bit. It's obviously not as serious as like during the season, but you're still like making sure you're in form, maybe practicing some other things. I kind of went on like a little detour and like did a mid lane only account and like was playing that, um, just to get like a better general understanding of the game. So yeah.
All right, and you obviously heard the rumors of your Dignitas roster changing and whatnot. Uh, did you have a feel that your spot might not be guaranteed, and that's why you talked to your management? Was it just some sort of conversation? What happened with that?
Well, realistically, I felt pretty confident about my position, because our initial plan was to run back the exact same roster, like from top to bottom, everyone was staying, and then obviously there were changes that started happening. I think first Rick was gone, and then it was like, oh, okay, well we're doing this because so and so reason, and I was like, okay, well like I'm still in the plan, so it's fine. And then obviously there's another change, and we're like, oh shit, like just like okay, well like he's gone, but I'm still in the plan, so it's okay. And then obviously then more changed, and I was no longer part of the plan. I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's kind of how it ended up going.
Okay, so it wasn't a sort of like team meeting where like, hey, we're looking at these changes. It's kind of the management did their own thing, and you just kind of found out when
There
everyone
were
else.
like smaller team meetings, right? So like there was like a group that was like, okay, this is our core. It was going to be me, Tomo, and Isles. That's like the core. So it's like, okay, we're going to keep these, and then we're going to shop the other pieces. And then the core group chat became a new core group chat where it was just me, Jonah, and management, or me, Isles, and management. And it's like, hey, I know we're training this, but like this is the core. And then I was not part of the next core meeting, but I'm assuming the next core meeting is just Isles and management. So I wasn't part of that one. And then yeah, that's kind of how the off season progressed.
Okay, and did you find out from the Sheep Esports tweet, or did you find out before
Um,
then?
I I found out when I tweeted. I literally found out 10 minutes before I tweeted. Like I
Oh, okay.
got off the call, gathered my thoughts a little bit, and I just tweeted that and tried to go to sleep. And that was like that was that was it. And then I think the next morning she tweeted.
All right. I'm sorry that happened. That must be like horrible. I know something similar happened with Immortals with Sharks, where he was like guaranteed his position. They love everything that he's doing, and then the next day he finds out, oh, I need to leave the country. I don't have a work visa anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I can only imagine how difficult that is. I do want to address some of the main comments that I've seen about your situation. One of the things is when you're writing your contract, you should have a clause that you're guaranteed to start, or if they drop you, they have to guarantee something like that. Obviously, that's not very realistic. Could you maybe address a little bit about that, and about whether a lot of people are saying, oh, he probably just too young, didn't have an attorney, an agent looking over his contract? Did you have someone look over your contract? And what are the reasons maybe you don't add something like that to a contract?
Well, when I initially signed 2.5 years ago, like my initial 3-year contract with Dig, I did it by myself. I had my friend who's in law school look it over, and we kind of talked it out, and I had my family look it over. Um, but the reality is like you kind of recognize it's predatory, but like what are you gonna do about it? Like I think as a rookie when you come in, like obviously at the time after the whole scouting ground shenanigans, I didn't have other offers. Like I was very close. Like I was like second in line to a few teams, but it got to the point where like they were all saying no, we're gonna stick with our first option, and then I just had zero leverage. So it's like either you try to fight to the death for a stronger, more solid contract, but if you do that, they could just find someone else who will take their contract that's beneficial for them. So I kind of weighed the pros and cons. And I was just like, yeah, like this, it's not like super predatory. At least from what I understood, that was like that is what the generic esports contracts looks like. And I think you could argue that the generic esports contracts are just predatory, but um, I didn't really have much wiggle room to fight. So I was like, yeah, like I'm gonna just take this and see what happens. And obviously, all the contracts are in favor of the orgs because they have the leverage, you know.
Yeah, I just wanted your perspective on that. It's very difficult to argue when you have less teams, which means you have more players vying for the same spots,
Yeah,
and you're not exactly the most popular player. You're not a double lift. You're not a Bjergsen. You're not a Jensen. Even Jensen might not have the greatest offers after what happened. Who knows? But
yeah.
it's difficult.
Mm.
After, I do want to talk about. So there was a time where you and Isles and I think a bunch of Dignitas members went hiking last split. You were hiking. I think it was last split, and it was looked like it was about to rain. You guys were ill prepared. You went hiking. It was hiking. It was raining, and you guys just like went through it. I feel like that is a very good representation of your career so far. You initially, when you got approved to scouting grounds, I think end of 2021, you get a message saying, "Hey, actually, that was a joke. You're not invited." Different words, but same concept. You got scammed. You didn't end up going to participating in scouting grounds. Then you had an when you were on Dig Academy, boot camping in Korea 4 days before you're about to come back, something like that. They're like, "Oh, actually, there are no academy. Bye bye." And then now again, you're like, what is it? 2 days before scrim start, or like 4 days before scrim starts,
Yeah,
and you find out
about four.
you're not actually on the team. Um, you've gotten scammed a lot of time. Well, I don't want to call it scam, but it's been a difficult hike in the rain. How do you keep this positive mentality that you have? Maybe people don't know, but you're always like, I don't want to be a victim. I'm going to keep trying. Many people would stop after the first hurdle. You've had many different hurdles. How do you keep this positive mentality and keep going? Because I actually maybe talk a little bit about your plans in the future as well.
Yeah, so I'll start with like how do I keep my mindset? I guess I think I'm just super grateful for a lot of things in my career, even though like a lot of things have gone really unfortunately. Um, the flip side of that is that a lot of things have really gone in my favor, and that's been like incredible, and I'm super grateful for that. I can even start like before what you mentioned with scouting grounds. So like I initially dropped out, and then I climbed solo queue, and I got top 25, and I made a Twitter post. And at the time, I was like duoing with some pro players, and at the time, when I made my Twitter, I had like no followers, right? So like there was no expectation of any of this popping off, and then it was really, really a surprise to me when I made my tweet that like it went crazy. You know, like I had like maybe 50 followers because it was a brand new Twitter account, and then that day my DMs were just blowing up, like my notifications were blowing up, and it was because a bunch of pro players were retweeting it and vouching for me, and like um, it was like an incredible feeling. And that day I got a message from Jack from C9, which is like that was like insane to me. You know, like these are like things that you don't expect to happen, and then one thing led to another, and like I was working towards playing for C9, and I was like, holy crap, like what? How did that happen? Obviously I ended up actually getting. I think I was initially supposed to be on C9 Academy, and then the Oceanic League disbanded, so they went with Fire for Academy, and they put me on amateur. So that was another situation where I actually had an experience where I literally signed an academy contract, and then I got a message that was like, "Hey, are you there? Like, can we talk?" And like, I have PTSD from these. Hey, can we talk? Anytime any management messages me, "Hey, can we talk?" I'm like, "Oh my god, like please respond instantly so we can talk and like I can find out what it is." Because if they don't respond, I get like so in my head. So I'm like, it could be anything. Like I lose my job. It could be just whatever, you know.
Oh, I'm
So he's
sorry.
like, "Hey, can we talk?" And then he's like, "Yeah, like we can't have you for academy." And he's like, "We're still considering you for amateur." And it wasn't even like a guarantee for amateur. I was just like, "Oh my god!" I went from like the highest high to like the depths. But obviously, I ended up being on amateur. Then the next year comes around, and I'm off C9, and scouting grounds happens, obviously, and scouting grounds is the same thing. Like I clutched in, I looked at all the like people's metrics and stuff. Everyone's like, "Oh yeah, you're in for sure." And then I got the message, "I'm in for sure." I was like, "Okay, I'm good. I'm good. Like it's chill." And then the night before the event, I get the same message like, "Hey, can we talk?" And I'm like, "Oh my god." And then I literally like I responded to that message because I got it late at night too. It was like 10 p.m. I think, and I sent a message to another participant in scouting grounds who's my friend, and I was like, "Hey, did they say they want to talk to you?" And he's like, "No." And I was like, "Oh my fucking god!" And so obviously, I didn't end up participating in scouting grounds as a player. I did get to talk to a lot of coaches and do the non-gameplay related things, which was I'm really grateful for because I got the opportunity to talk to like Spawn from TL and like Golden Glue, just a bunch of people, and like kind of tell them my story and see if I can get offers. I ended up getting in some deeper conversations with some teams, and then obviously I didn't get an opportunity in the end. But luckily, Dig Academy happened to be running tryouts maybe a month after scouting grounds, and so I got the chance to do that. And obviously, I'm grateful that they took me. And I don't know. I think I just had so many things that have happened where it's like it's not what I expect, and maybe it's objectively bad, but it's also like objectively lucky because like I don't know. If I wasn't on Dig, like who knows if I would even get a chance to play in the LCS. And like I don't know. It's not easy to go from academy to LCS on like top tier teams. So like being on Dig gave me the opportunity to have so many chances at LCS, and I think that was something I'm still really grateful for. So yeah, I think that helps me keep my mindset positive.
No, I mean it's something that we actually seen from you. You did an interview with Digon during the split where you mentioned that like, look, you have 14 games the split to really show what you're made of.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously you played 15 because of that tiebreaker, but you get the point.
Yeah.
Were you able to show, like, do you feel like you really showed what you were made of during that last split? Do you have any regrets from last split?
Yeah, I mean, I 100% have regrets. I do think I had a solid showing. I think it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. I think the break really messed with our team, and I think it messed with me in particular a lot. Um, because before the break, I really felt like I hit my stride and I was playing well. And after the break, I think there were a lot of team dynamics that weren't going well, and I think my confidence was a little shaken. So yeah, I think my biggest regret is that like after the break, I don't think I performed to the level that I wanted to. But I think overall, like I'm not regretful of how I played this split. I'm like pretty proud of it. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't want my career to end on that. That would be really disappointing, I think.
So you have plans on playing in an ACL or streaming
Yeah.
or
Oh yeah. I guess you mentioned that earlier. So this upcoming split, obviously all the LCS teams are locked. Um, so I will be playing on ACL. Haven't announced what team I'm going to go to yet, but I'll probably do that whenever I'm allowed to. And then, yeah, I think just going to grind my way up. I'm going to go back to school and do part time in fall, and then I'll probably do a boot camp in Korea in the winter. And then if I get fortunate enough to find an LCS spot in spring, then I'll be back. And if not, then I think that would be the end of the road for me for LCS.
I hope that doesn't happen. It's been a pleasure seeing you. Speaking of school, I do want to just mention that when I was 4 years old, I was chewing on asphalt in the street. When you were 4 years old, you were in first grade, but studying with third graders. So you made it into Berkeley at 16. You're very talented when it comes to school, and normally when you see people who kind of feels like they just get everything they want because they're smart or they're ahead of the game, they're not very good at facing adversity. But I think you're someone that really has faced. I mean, you dropped out of school when you made it into university at 16. That must have been a very interesting discussion to have with your parents, for example, especially knowing that they're coming from a different background and whatnot. Talk to me a little bit about your support group, because we see a lot of players, whether they're from NACL like Fire, who honestly could have really made it, could have been the next Bjergsen of NA, and people like Revenge who did make it to LCS just retiring because they feel like there's no more prospects. Talk to me a little bit about the support that you get, maybe from your brother, from your family, and then lastly from your girlfriend, because you shout her out every game. So we'll get to that.
Yeah, I mean that. you kind of nailed it. That is my core support group. Um, and this is kind of like a different topic, but I really think like without them, I would never have had any of these opportunities. Um, yeah, it's just so helpful to have people who are constantly supportive of you, whether it's just like my brother, for example, he really doesn't know anything about the game, but he just has like so much belief in me and he's so supportive of me. And I think that's very empowering to me. Um, and seeing him come to LCS games and stuff like that was just like, it's just like really, really an incredible feeling. So yeah, I think that definitely is a big part of what helps me keep pushing and trying. My girlfriend, obviously, she's like with me every day in the off season, and like when it's during the season, I see her on my one free day. Um, and yeah, just I don't know. It's hard to put into words how it feels to have that level of support, but it really is what makes or breaks your like willpower to keep going. And yeah, I'm just super grateful for them. And my parents, obviously, they had their moments. You know, when I dropped out, obviously, we're not super excited about what I was doing, but seeing them come out to LCS games, like there's this one picture I have from the weekend that my parents and my brother came, and it's a picture of like our whole family and my girlfriend and my brother's girlfriend, and it's like that's a picture I'm gonna keep forever. You know, like it's just an incredible photo that will always hold a special place in my heart. So
That's
yeah,
awesome. If you came out with anything, you came out with that photo.
yeah,
Um, you your first game on stage and every game on stage, you hover Katarina because your girlfriend's name is Kat. And I think your girlfriend made I think this was the very first social media post I'd seen by you on TikTok, where it was just her reacting to the fact that you were shouting her out, and she was very, very excited for it, and she was like all giddy and happy and whatnot. Can you talk to me about? This is gonna sort of be a little bit of tangent, but you tweeted not a couple hours ago. I'll just pull up the tweet real quick about that you were doing an interview, and it made you think: do you all think that pro players should be allowed to have normal lives alongside their careers, aka normal life, having a girlfriend, relationship, whatnot, or is it the expectation that they spend all their hours practicing since they're lucky enough to have the opportunity to do so? You mentioned you only really see her on your day off, but do you consider it a distraction? Do you feel like it motivates you? Sort of what do you think on that? I guess I know you're asking everyone else, but I do want to see what you think.
I mean, from my perspective, there's pros and cons. I think it's extremely unrealistic to play every waking hour that you have. And I think the value to my mental health that she provides and like the comfort and support, I think that far outweighs the amount of practice I would have got in the few hours that I spend with her per week. So yeah, I kind of just threw that out there because I felt like there's like a lot of sentiment about like pro players in NA don't work hard enough. And I kind of just wanted to see whether people like thought pro players are like robots or like they don't deserve rights because they're like privileged. I don't know. I honestly just wanted to see what people thought because I think sometimes, well, I think this is like a common thing. It's like when you see a negative comment, it sticks way more than when you see positive comments. So when I see people saying things like NA players are lazy or NA players don't work hard enough, that's why they suck. It's like that comment kind of sticks in my head more, and it probably like makes me think more people think that way than they do. So I kind of just wanted to like gauge how people felt, and it seems like from the responses, most people are logical and expect humans like know that pro players are humans. It could also just be that the people who follow me probably lean towards that sentiment because if they're following me, they're probably supporting me, which means that they respect me as a human being enough to like quote unquote allow me to have a normal life, I guess. But yeah, like I just wanted to see, and I kind of wanted to see like if there were people who thought on the other side where it's like pro players shouldn't be able to have a normal life. I kind of wanted to talk to them a little bit, but it seems like no one has really had that opinion yet. So
Post it on Reddit. You'll find people.
Yeah, that's true.
Your girlfriend, actually, since we're talking about her a little bit. Oh yeah, what I wanted to say was, Core JJ, no one would ever say that he doesn't work hard enough. He's like the hardest, the epitome of hard work, and he's married. So if he can have a life, I think everyone else can. But speaking of your girlfriend, she's actually a pretty big streamer. And we were talking earlier how one tweet that you made that you hit top 25 got you onto that C9 roster. Amateur, whatever ended up happening. The importance of social media and like developing your social media is very important because especially in these days where there are limited spots and it's nothing is guaranteed. And if you can have one leg over anyone, like whatever leg that is, I think it's very crucial. And it's not that pro players don't understand that, but a common cry from the community is like, why do pros not make content? Even if it's 5 minutes of reacting to their games after every game or just something. As a pro player yourself, maybe you can answer that a little bit.
Yeah. I think the majority of pro players, well, let me backtrack a little bit. To become a pro player, you have to spend countless hours by yourself in a room playing video games. So the people who generally can make it as pro players aren't usually like extroverted content creator type of people. I think for me, especially, I've kind of grown more comfortable with it as I've been in this field a little longer. But at first, like I hated doing content. I wouldn't even do this interview with you unless like my org was forcing it down my throat, you know, like I think I've grown a lot more comfortable with interviews and content and stuff like that. I think pros are really afraid of putting their true selves out there a lot of the times because like the reality is like people are mean and I know it's like very easy to just say, like don't listen to them, whatever. Like, but I don't know. At least for me, I'll speak for myself because I can't speak for anyone else. Like for me, negative comments do get to me, and it's like kind of annoying. And I think like sometimes it makes me want to be more reserved and not show out more because the less you show, the less people can judge. But I think, yeah, there definitely is value in growing your brand, and I think a lot of pro players really should focus on that. But when you're competing, you really just want to win. So like, even though people are like, yeah, like you need to grow your brand to secure your job, you're like, your main focus as a pro player is like, you just want to win. You just want to compete. Everything else is like kind of extra. So yeah, I think that's what it is. And also I think it's like the fear of starting and like being cringe and all that. I don't know. It's just a lot of like fears that I guess shouldn't be fears. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thanks for shedding light. I know some people will be like, oh my God, how can you be afraid? Or you will see the negative comments. Hopefully, don't look at the comments of this interview. Normally, people that watch my interviews are pretty chill, but
Yeah.
I feel you too. I'm the type of person that doesn't really get affected by negative or positive comments. I kind of just move on with my life. So it's a lot easier for me than I'm assuming for a lot of pro players, but I do think it's necessary because at the end of the day, it's part of the career. Do you have any plans for content creation? I know you're going to be doing like academy or NACL and challengers and school part-time. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to try to stream more. Obviously, the NACL schedule is much less intensive than the LCS schedule is. So I'll probably just try to stream every night when I can, as much as I can, and then try to use TikTok and stuff like that. And I think I'm going to try to do more content that's like not just gameplay. Like one thing I was thinking about, I'll mention it here because it's like something that I plan on doing soon was like I want to review all my LCS games and kind of like make a it was gonna be like a short TikTok series about like, did I deserve to get kicked? And like, let's look at like my games and kind of like see how I played. Yeah, part of that is for content, and part of that is like genuinely, like I remember a lot of the games, but it's from the POV of like playing. So now that it's like a little bit, I'm a little bit further away from it. I actually do want to go back and look and see like how I would objectively rate my performance. And it's not to say like, oh, should I have been kicked or not? It's really just to see like, what am I bad at? What did I do well? Like kind of just assess myself from like a third party, because now I'm like kind of detached from it, as opposed to like when I'm reviewing in the moment, like it's very personal, you know?
no, that's really cool. I'm excited for that. You're one of the very few pro players that I actually believe, because you have a girlfriend who I think knows the ins and outs of it and might actually push you to do it. A lot of times we hear pros being like, "Oh, I'll do this or I'll do that," and then it never happens. You're just like waiting room XD. But
yeah,
all right,
definitely me to do content, and I would not have done even the amount of streaming / content that I have if it weren't for her. So
hopefully this gave a little bit of perspective on what eXyu's thinking, what he went through, and not just in this time being called by his management to find out he's not playing a few days before the split, or I guess a month before the split, but just in general. I know that esports scene is hard. Don't show a lot of like hate. I think this is the time where when someone's low, you don't kick them while they're down. You know, just show a lot of love. Tweet at him. You can see how much positive fan like reaction can affect the players. So yeah, if you get anything from this, I won't say like subscribe or do all this stuff for my channel. Just tweet at eXyu. I'll put his Twitter first thing in the description. So just tweet at him, give him some positive support. I think his handle is like at lolxu, but I'll put it in the description. So yeah, thank you for watching, and go tweet at him, give him some love.